And we're live. Hello, citizens, and welcome back to the Comm Relay after a 2-week pause, 3-week pause. I don't remember. I was busy. And Pacey, hello and welcome. And Maretka, thank you for the sub. 6 months now. So that means you get a new icon, I think. I don't remember. But yes, thank you for the Prime sub. And you guys threw me off. So the Comm Relay has been off for a little while because I was busy and I was tired and time changed, and as you can see now it's daylight when I'm streaming. I am a little bit confused by this reality. In other public service announcements, first of all, if you haven't already, go submit yourself into the Drake Golem giveaway, which is linked on Discord and hopefully the link tree also. Second, if you haven't already, go enter the screenshot contest, which is also linked on Discord and in the link tree. And thirdly, if you haven't already, go submit your questions for the Q&A episode 2. Episode 1 was really good. We had a lot of good questions from a couple people. So yeah, go do that. Again, links on Discord and on Linktree. And with that out of the way, we can move to the actual show. So welcome back to the Comm Relay. Today we're going to we actually have a topic that is sort of a spin-off of one of the questions we had in the first episode of the Q&A, which is name one ship that you wouldn't change, one ship that you would change, and one ship that you would remove. And I just kind of spun it on ships we love, ships we hate, and ships we would change. And I made a couple notes on, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 ships, 9 ships that I either love or I hate or I would change something about. So I think let's start with the love. So number 1, the Nomad. And I already mentioned this in the Q&A. I think the Nomad is perfect as it is. It doesn't need any changes. I personally don't own one, but it is one of the ships that I actually love flying and love seeing. And I think CAG actually did a very good job with the Nomad as it is. Primarily because it kind of has, for that price point, it's $100 last time I checked. So for that price point, you get a decent cargo bay. It is open though, so your cargo is exposed, but you can actually put a Cyclone and a Rock in there. You get a very solid living area, a ton of internal storage, and it actually flies pretty well. Like, if you upgraded it a little bit, you could probably manage bounties pretty well if that was your only ship. And just the whole hover component is really cool, in my opinion. So yeah, not much more to say about Nomad. I just love it. Moving on to the second ship I love, the Gladiator, or Gladiator. Sorry, I've been speaking Slovak all weekend and my English is broken. Anyway, so the Gladiator. Now, yes, everyone listening or watching is going to say it needs a rework, it needs a gold standard, and I absolutely agree with you. But I very much like what it does. It has good pilot guns, good turrets. It is a little crammed, but I think that's the point. They tried to squeeze all that firepower into a very small package. And it can carry, I think let me actually look it up. So I say the correct stat. But it has weapons. Let's see. So you get 4 size 5, I think that's a torpedo at that point, and you get 8 size 2 missiles, but obviously those are on a customizable rack. So the torpedo rack is static, but the missile rack is customizable. So if you wanted to, you could put I think it would be a 2 or 3 size 3 missiles or 2 size 4 missiles on there if you wanted to. So if you wanted to change that, you absolutely could. And you actually get, now I'm looking at it, you actually get 4 size 3 missiles. So you get 16 torpedoes and missiles. And Pacey says, ship I would change, Raft. Love it, but the cargo area feels outdated. Magnetic pads like the Hull series and a tractor beam at the back would fit better. Engine room layout is also kind of awkward. Pacey, I actually agree. So I was actually salvaging on Wednesday or on Thursday, and we were salvaging a Raft, and I just kind of went inside to see if I can pull some components or pull some fuses. And it's like, I like the living areas or the hallway with the airlock and the cockpit, but the whole elevator transit and the separate ladder, it's kind of weird. But I see where they were going with it. But I think what would make more sense, especially with how engineering is going to be, is if you had the engineering area on the lower deck and then the living area on the upper deck. I think that would make more sense. And I believe the Raft should have a tractor beam. I think it's actually not. Now that I actually have Star Citizen tools open, I can look it up. Raft. Like, I am convinced it has a tractor beam, but I'm not 100% sure. No, it doesn't. I thought it does. Huh. No, today I learned. Yeah, no, it doesn't. But I agree, it should have the magnetic pads, like on the Hull series. Like, I understand the idea they had with kind of because if you remember to the original announcement of the Raft, you would know that they kind of had that intent of like, it's going to lower the 64 SCU container or the 32 SCU container. Yeah, I think it's the 32 SCU. It's going to lower it to the ground and then you can like manipulate it. But that kind of never materialized because that was sort of pre-cargo refactor, so I think they didn't know what it was going to look like. So I think what they could do now is just make it, that attachment point like you see on the hulls, and it would be fine. And it would also actually make it a lot easier to load and offload. Yes, it has one, but it is right in. Okay. Huh. Okay, it is not listed. But let me look at. Oh, actually, yes, you're correct. In the description, it says that it has a tractor beam. Okay, yeah, that's. Yeah, but if it's like right in the middle of like the whole thing, that's not really gonna help you. I think what would be actually effective is kind of the arm thing that the Zeus CL has that comes out of the back. Something similar where you can actually like move the boxes around a little bit. No, that's a good point. Like, yeah. But yeah, like I said, that's a good change. Just make it like the gravity cargo lock or whatever it is on the hull, and remove the sort of support struts, because it doesn't make sense. Because if you ever load a Raft and you put a box that's smaller than the size of it in the middle, it just floats in there, which looks kind of weird. Yeah. Anyway, so back to the Gladiator. So you have 16 missiles, but you can sort of change that loadout as you wish. And on top of that, you get 2 size 3s for the turret, and you get 2 size 4s actually for the pilot. I think they could switch that up, but whatever. So really a very good ship in terms of armament and sort of a strike on a larger ship capability. But it does need a rework, and it actually doesn't have, like, it only has 2 coolers, only 1 radar, 1 power plant. Yeah, it needs a little bit of redundancy. Just bring it to the gold standard. But other than that, I wouldn't change anything about this ship. It looks very cool. It flies really well. Definitely on my list of ships to get if I ever get the opportunity. Yeah. Moving on to the final ship that I love, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with me, is the C1. The C1 went through a little bit of a rework between the concept and the actual implementation, because they realized they can make the cargo space bigger. So I think it actually gained 12 SCU of cargo, if I'm not mistaken. And I cannot find the original documents for it. But I think in the original concept, they had, oh, there we go, the New Spirit series. This is why I like, so my favorite resource is StarCitizen.tools. They have sort of a collection of all the articles and everything that you can find. Okay, so let's see, C1. Yeah, so the original concept has 48 SCU of cargo on the C1, because it was a little bit smaller, but they actually ended up making the cargo area longer. So they actually added those, what is it, 58? So that's actually 16 SCU extra on there. So they added 16 SCU, so you have a very small ship that can not only carry 64 SCU in total, but it will actually carry 2 of the largest containers that are possible, the 32 SCU ones, which I think is an amazing deal for what it is. And you get a tractor beam to manipulate this whole thing. So I love everything about this ship, especially now after the rebalance of components for, I'm not sure if it was 4.0.1 or 4.1, it actually gets military components, which, and you actually get a B-class military power plant and a B-class military quantum drive, so you end up with a very fast small cargo hauler. And it's, you know, much like any Crusader ship, it actually gets a lot of fuel. So yeah, no notes really on it. My only caveat, and that goes for the C1 and the E1, I think all of the spirits should have retained the remote turret, but I am biased because I think every ship that has 2 crew members, regardless of purpose, should have a remote turret or a PDC, because that's just seems to be the direction the game is going. But yeah. So moving on to ships that I hate. And there really are only 2 here. And number 1, the Rock DS. And those of you who have been following me and watching my videos for a long time know that I have a grudge with the Rock DS. For a couple reasons. Number 1, it is bigger than the Rock, so it actually doesn't fit into as many ships and doesn't fit into as many places if you wanted to take it cave mining for whatever reason. And given the driving physics in Star Citizen, it just makes it extremely painful to drive. Second, having it as a 2-person vehicle doesn't add any value, besides that you have a little more cargo, but it's still less than what you would have. And let me actually fact check myself on this. So I think at release it was actually less than what you would have. So the Rock has 1.2 SCU of cargo space for minables. And if I look at the Rock DS, it has 3.4. Okay, so they fixed that. So yes, you get more than twice the cargo, barely more than twice the cargo. But I would still argue that you get more work done with 2 Rocks, because you just get it done faster. And you would think you would get sort of that improved mining beam, like what we see on the newly released Atlas Geo. If you haven't tried it yet, it's basically the Atlas suit or chassis or sort of the walker thing. But instead of a tractor beam, it has a mining laser. And this mining laser has a very interesting quirk, which is that it can sort of be in high power or low power mode. And in low power mode, it can mine stuff that you would mine with your mining tool on your multi-tool. And in high power mode, it can mine anything that the rock can mine, essentially making both of the rocks completely obsolete. So that's what I think they should add to the Rock DS to make me hate it less. Also, I don't like the cabin configuration where sort of one person is enclosed from the elements and the other guy has to have an environment suit to mine. I think they should have made it where they sort of sit either next to each other in a very crammed cockpit, or they sit sort of in a row in a very cramped cockpit, but they're both in the cabin, and basically make the mining arm not even remote, just give the other guy the mining UI, like they would if they were in a regular rock. And really, that's my grudge with the Rock DS. That being said, I very much like the sort of six-wheeler design it has. Like that thing, it looks cool. It just could have been done better if someone only asked why a couple times during the design process. But other than that, yeah. Oh, you can actually buy it in game now, in Lorville. I scrolled down on Store Citizen Tools to check on the purchase areas. But yeah, if they added that fancy Atlas Geo laser, that would make it almost worth it in my mind, because you still can't really take it into a cave because it's huge. And well, kind of same thing applies to the Atlas Geo, but well, that's a different thing. I actually do like the Atlas Geo. CAG very generously lent me one for I don't know how long, but they lent me the Atlas Geo and the Drake Golem that we're giving away currently. Speaking of which, go sign up for the giveaway. All you have to do is literally fill out a form with your name and email, so I know who to call when I select someone. And I actually really like the Atlas Geo. My only problem with it, and it's not really a sort of a deal breaker for me. It's just kind of a weird quirk that it has that, yes, it has a jetpack, but you can't control it. Like, it only goes up. So if you, and this actually happened to me, is that I wanted to take it to a cave, but it was kind of like the drop cave. So it drops in just fine, but you can't jump out because you can't, like if you go forward and you jump, it just goes kind of like a 45-degree angle, but that's not enough. And if you just go up, it just goes up and you can't move it either way. Might be a bug. If it is, I hope they fix it, because that would make it pretty cool and, you know, actually possible to navigate in general. But for sort of mining in the open, I prefer it to the Rock, simply for the reason of, yeah, it is easier to drive because you're not really driving it, you're walking in it. But yeah, enough whinging about the Rock DS. Let's move on to the other ship that I hate. And this might be a surprise to some people, but it's the hover quad. And don't take me wrong, I love hover bikes. I love the Dragonfly. I love the X1. I love the Pulse. But the hover quad, like the whole thing with the door handle image when it was originally released, and crew, thank you for redeeming hydrate. Cheers, crew. Today I'm drinking some Tuareg, which is a tea blend of mint, like spearmint, so it's very minty, and gunpowder green tea. So it kind of has that very strong aromatic punch. Lots of people actually drink this with sugar, and if you put sugar in it, like in a sufficient amount, it kind of tastes like bubblegum. And if you have because different tea selling locations, they do different. If they do their own blend, they will do different blends. So you kind of have to get the right blend where it's 50-50, or, well, adjusted taste-wise to 50-50, not volume-wise. And if you put sugar in it tastes like bubblegum. Like a spearmint bubblegum, not like a bubblegum, but you get the point. I like it. It's very refreshing. What you can do with this, if you are feeling brave, is if you have a mocha pot at home, you can actually put this tea into the mocha pot instead of coffee. And what you will get is essentially an espresso shot of minty green tea. And if you're sick and you're congested, it's pretty much the best thing you can do for temporary relief, because it's like getting kicked in the face, and it just kind of clears everything up. Do clean the mocha pot before and after, though, because you don't want the coffee oils mixing with that, because then it just smells really weird. Anyway, back to the hover quad. So why do I hate the hover quad, besides the whole debacle with the door handle and the advent calendar? So unless they change this, and I'm going to verify right now, and I'm sorry I haven't verified any of this before. I was visiting my parents this weekend, and that usually involves a lot of work in the garden. So no, actually, yeah, they haven't changed it. So the hover quad has nothing. It doesn't have shields. It doesn't have a weapon. Even the Pulse has a weapon, and it even has shields, I think. Let's see, Pulse. Oh, actually, the Pulse doesn't have a shield either. Okay, then I have... Okay, but the Pulse still gets a weapon. You still get a weapon on the Pulse. So, yeah. So, in my opinion, just the hover quad, like I kind of like the look of it, because it really kind of looks like a quad bike or an ATV. It has that very nice angular consolidated outline look where it very much matches the Nomad. And Baskelt says hover quad is more durable, harder to slam against the ground. Very fair. That is a good point, especially then again, with the, when was it, the hover vehicle rework? I think it was 320. Since then, where they actually allowed you to adjust the height at which you're flying, it hasn't happened to me that I have like hit the ground. It has happened to me where I would like go over the hill and have a jump and then land a little too hard and blow up. But oh, so we're having a, my social media manager is double timing me with a different streamer. I'm not sure if I'm insulted yet. We will deal with that after the stream. So that's a good point, but it hasn't happened to me. But yeah, I just have deep hatred for the hover quad. I would rather be flying a Dragonfly, just for the simple reason that it has a very fragile, but it has a shield. So it gives me, half a second of being alive when someone starts shooting at me, which happens surprisingly often. So yeah, so that goes for the ships I hate, because really, if I had to remove a ship or a vehicle from the game, I couldn't. Like, the Rock DS is very high on that list, but it is my understanding that some people like it. And in all fairness, whenever I play with my best friend, she is a very casual, very occasional player of Star Citizen, to the point where I wouldn't let her have her own rock, because that's a lot of things happening at once. But hey, if she's driving and I'm mining, that works. Or if I'm driving and she's mining, it actually works out pretty well. And Bascult says, one ship I would change is the Cuddy Black. I would remove the co-pilot seat, change the turret to remote, remove the 2 beds in the cargo hold, and install a seat with screens for the remote turret. On the Cuddy Black, the beds are actually on the bridge, not in the cargo hold. The red has 2 extra beds in the cargo hold, or in like the medical area, and the blue might also. Let me double check on the Cuddy Blue. But no, I agree. It's kind of my hot take on pretty much any turret should be remote, except the large caliber turrets, so the stuff on the Javelin, the Perseus, or the size 5 turret on the Reclaimer. Everything else should be remote, and it should be a station somewhere. For the for the Cuddy Black, the co-pilot seat kind of has a purpose, because you can control the tractor beam from there. But I figure, you can probably give that control both to the pilot, because if you're using the tractor beam, you're probably not flying, and the gunner as well. And what I would do is I would just put the gunner seat, let's call it, I would put that probably where the current turret seat is. Just kind of not have the thing go up, just kind of have the seat in there. And it still works. But generally, I don't like the layout of the crew area on the Cuddy. I think they could have laid it out a little bit better and actually gotten more crew facilities in there. So I think Morphologist did a 3D model on this, and I agree with him that the door should have been in the middle, where the turret is kind of entered through that area as well. One side would be the bathroom, and the other side would be the sleeping area. But if the turret is remote, you can leave it in the co-pilot seat and just kind of have a door in there. And I think that would work really, really well. And you could get like an actual table and an actual bathroom in there. But yes, you're correct. The Cuddy Black is all over the place. The primary reason why I think it's like that, it's because it was reworked from if you remember that, this is a rework, a very in-depth rework actually of the Cutlass. They actually changed the entire interior layout, because the Cuddy used to have a side door in the front, and the beds used to be in the cargo hold. Okay, you've flown the old Cutlass, so you know what I'm talking about. So, and I think they, haven't figured out the rework correctly in a way that would make it work the best. Maybe they will sort of revisit it at some point, and sort of at the size and purpose of the Cuddy Blue or the Cuddy Black, I would expect the crew areas to look a little bit better. At the same time, if you convert the turret to a remote turret, you kind of give it like a very much smoother profile. because now the turret kind of like sticks out in the middle. But if you make it a remote turret, it can be sort of a low profile and can blend in a little bit more into the shape, which I think would be the perfect choice. And I'm looking at the Cuddy Blue, and I can't find if it has more beds in the cargo hold, but I know the Cuddy Red does. And I actually don't remember if I've been on a Cuddy Blue. I think I have. I just haven't really looked. I know it has the prisoner transport in the back, and it has a quantum dampener. But yeah, no, agreed. The Cuddy Black is all over the place, and it could use a little bit of polish. They kind of did everybody a favor by removing that strut on the canopy, so you can now actually aim with the advanced mode. Oh, you just missed. So Bascal says the ship I love with all my heart is the C1, and you just missed it. I was talking about it in the ships I love section. I absolutely love my C1. It has been my daily driver, though it has been competing with the Zeus ES, because I just like the look of it and how it flies. But I like to do hauling with the C1 simply because I can park it really up close to the elevator. It fits a ton of cargo, and I've been using Hauler, my application, to optimize my hauling routes, and I can take like 5 small contracts at once with ease on the C1, and it's not going to be a huge deal to load and offload. It's just a very well single-purpose ship, in my opinion. Though, like I say with everything, it should have retained the remote turret. But I say that about every industrial ship, that it should have a remote turret or a PDC. And I think the E1 and the C1 should have retained the remote turret of the A1, just for some extra defensive capability, because that turret on the A1 is very defensively placed. So that's what I think it should have been. But anyway, so moving on to ships that I would change, and I have actually 4 of these. So number 1, the Mercury Star Runner. Don't take me wrong, I love my MSR. I love it with all my heart. But how do I phrase this? The MSR, while it is a good ship, it suffers from 2 things. Number 1, it suffers from being the first Crusader ship that was built. So it's missing a lot of the iconic Crusader features that we're seeing. And it suffers from being nerfed into the ground. So it used to be fast, now it's no longer fast. Like, how is this thing a blockade runner? It can't outrun anything. So how would I change the MSR? Number 1, get rid of the crawl space. I know that's kind of the main point of the ship, but they never actually gave us the use of it to hide stuff. And like, if the ship is advertised as it has a bunch of hidden storage, then from a lore and immersion perspective, to me it would be like every cop that stops you and thinks you have something illegal on board is going to be like, just hang on tight, I'm going to call for another unit and we're going to do a search of your ship. Because I don't know, like if your ship by design has secret smuggling corridors, I think that counts as probable cause. I don't know if anyone in the audience is a lawyer, but I think that's probable cause. So get rid of the ducts. That way it frees up a bunch of space. But I would retain the shielded cargo area on the side. That's kind of useful, because like other ships have shielded cargo and it shields it from scans. So if you are transporting like something sensitive or something. So, and I think they might expand the functionality of shielded cargo holds for once the dangerous and volatile cargo comes in. That will sort of protect it. Like we have Zeta Prolonite, which you can't quantum with. If you put it into a shielded storage, it doesn't explode when you quantum. And Pacey says, my perfect ship is the Sulan. And you know what? I would agree with you. I like the Sulan. It is weird, but it kind of has like storage. It's got a little bit of cargo. It's got living area. But for the life of me, I can't fly it. Like, I know that's a skill issue, but I like looking at it. I like flying it. I like taking pictures of it. But like, it doesn't rank very high up for me. But back to the MSR. So what do? Get rid of the ducts. That gives you a bunch of space. Split the area, or like the interior of the ship, into 2 decks. Lower deck is going to be engineering, and I'm talking about like the front part of the ship. So you would have the cargo hold, and you would have like engineering and habitation decks. So engineering would be engineering, because I think it needs more engineering spaces, because it's going to have more components in the future. It would be, tanks and servers down there. Then upper deck would be habitation and scanning. So you would have the crew quarters. I think you could even add captain's quarters, because I think it's big enough for captain's quarters. The scanner room, and sort of the crew mess hall, recreation area, and the bridge. And maybe like a little armory space on the lower deck or something. Then move the entrance to this whole thing to the middle. And sure, make it an elevator, if you will. That's going to take you between those 2 decks, but make it also go all the way to the ground. Oh, and one thing I forgot about the ducts, it's a massive security issue, because if you get boarded, you can block the elevator. Like, you can block them from accessing the elevator just by standing there with a shotgun. Like, have your gunner stand there with a shotgun. Because like the moment someone steps on that elevator, they get shot. But since everybody knows about the ducts, they can just go into that secret room, because it's not locked, and just access the duct system and get right into the bridge through that. So, massive security issue. Okay, back to how I would change it. Move that elevator in the middle, make it go into the ground. Then, that gives you sort of a straight hallway from the elevator to the bridge, essentially. And you can branch out rooms on each side on both decks. Next, make the turrets remote. That's why the interior layout of the MSR is the way it is, because they need to have the turrets in that specific place, and that limits a lot of how that ship can be built. So make them remote, put the seats in the bridge, and make the bridge a little bit longer, similar to what you see on the Hercules. That opens up a lot of space for more servers, bigger crew areas, and sort of amenities that you would want to have on a ship that size. And then it's going to be perfect. And then make it fast and give it to PDCs. Done. MSR complete. Do I think they will do it? Not in such a massive scope. Would it be nice? Certainly. What do I think they're going to do? I think they will just bring back the speed a little bit, rebalance the components, and maybe change the layout of the component areas. For me right now, the biggest issues are that your main traversal path takes you through the servers, which should be like sensitive and locked off. And Bascult says, another ship I love is the Nomad. And me too. It is first on my list of ships I love. So there you go. I think we have very similar tastes. So moving on to the other ship I would change is the Aurora. And don't take me wrong, I love the Aurora. It is a very, very cool starter, but it needs a little bit of a rework. So, number one, the seating arrangement. If you have ever flown an Aurora, you know that your character kind of has to like squeeze in between the seats to sit down, and there is no way the FAA would approve this, right? So I think they should do like either like the seat like on the Avenger where it spins around, or just kind of like it slides in, and that would do. Uh, but I think like the seat that spins around is like spin and slide in. That would be the best for the Aurora, I think. Then it does not need two entrances. It can only have one door, and the other. Oh yeah, you could widen the cockpit also, yes, because it kind of has like those two struts closing it in, so you could like make it a little bit wider. But you know, either option is good. So you know, remove one of the doors and put like, depending on the variant, put like extra components there for the Legionnaire, or put, you know, a weapon rack there for the MR and the ES, or you know, or put some living stuff in there, like a little kitchen or whatever, or just like a suit locker and a weapons closet for all the variants. And for the bed can stay as it is. I think the bed on the Aurora, while pretty coffin-like, is actually a pretty good thing, like a pretty good feature on it. And bring back VTOL. The Aurora used to have VTOL for a very short time, and it looked very cool. Same as the Connie. So just bring that back, and it will be fine, I think. So that's my thoughts on the Aurora. Other than that, I love the Aurora. Every time I'm able to get my hands on one, I take it out. I fly with it a little bit. I take some photos of it. It's a very good looking ship in photos, and just in general a multi-purpose vessel. I think when I was starting out with an Aurora, I was able to get up to medium danger bounties, no problem, with some upgrades, just to make things easier for myself. Anyway, moving on to the other ship I would change, the Connie. And I know, again, Connie desperately needs to be reworked to the gold standard, which is true. So what do I not like about the Connie? So it's an exploration ship. Now, and I've said this before. Now, consider the way the living area is arranged. How long would you be able to stay there with 3 other people? I'm giving any given group about 2 weeks before fights over the shower begin. So that crew area, definitely lots of room for improvement. And that even actually applies to the Phoenix, because the only bathroom on the Phoenix is actually in the crew area. So if someone that's flying on the ship wants to go to the bathroom, they actually have to go through the crew area, which is not ideal. So what would I do with at least the exploration variant? The gunship variant of the Connie is probably fine the way it is, but for the exploration one, I would kind of give it a similar arrangement to the Phoenix, because it can still fit the rover, the Ursa, but kind of move the living areas into sort of that big middle section, and have, you know, multiple rooms, have a recreation area, have a proper bathroom. And then, you know, engineering is still in the rear, and then you kind of have this big area in the middle. And you can actually put more engineering stuff in there. You can put the airlocks in there, because you kind of have the side airlocks on the Connie. So you can either remove those or put them in the middle. And now where the crew area was, I would put an armory. Have a bunch of suit lockers, some weapon lockers in there, workbench maybe. Done. Easy. And all you have to do is really take more of the Phoenix and make it more Andromeda, or Kila is the exploration one. So that's my take on the Connie. Other than that, love the Connie. Just wouldn't really want to be on there with a full crew for more than 3 days. Like, imagine one of the 4 people you are there on a months-long exploration journey snores. Just imagine that. And finally, moving on to the Argo Mole. So the mole is good in its purpose, but the traversal through the mole is a pain, and the general layout is a pain, and how the lasers are laid out is also a pain. So I see kind of two things that could be done with the mole. Option one is easier, because all it would say is either make the center mining laser be operable from the pilot seat or the co-pilot seat. And the co-pilot seat is probably the better option, because it still retains that 4-person crew requirement. But I think it should be doable with 3 people, because if you are mining in a mall with 4 people, then one person just kind of sits around while the mining is happening. So just let the pilot also control a mining laser, and that way I think it gives them more awareness of the situation, and give the co-pilot or the co-pilot seat a remote gun to control. Then enclose the side lasers, because right now they're open to the elements, which is kind of dangerous. Like, would it be that expensive to would it be that expensive to put some glass on there? And yeah, that's like the easy option for the mole, in my opinion. The difficult option would be to completely rework the mole to be a variant of the raft chassis, assuming the raft improvements I suggested earlier, where you would kind of have the lower deck be the sort of engineering and mining area, where basically, because the raft has the cockpit lower, so you could have the laser remote and sort of under the cockpit, then it sort of pulls out like on the Prospector. And then you could kind of do the same thing with the side lasers as well, actually, but you could have them like in the little sponson thingies that you have on the current mole, and then the rear cargo area can be the mining bags, which actually gives you much better access to swap out the mining bags in the hangar or in space or anywhere, and then just move the entire living area to the top floor, and possibly bits of engineering if you need to. That's how I would do it with the mole if I were to do like a major rework, because I think the raft chassis is better than the mole chassis. But both of them kind of have, if you look at especially the raft, you can't see it as much on the mole, but if you look at the raft from the top, what you can kind of see is that the top hull, the top plate of the raft kind of looks like the top plate on a Valkyrie. And I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or if it's like the same person who designed it, and they were like, oh, I like this feature on the Valkyrie, let's put it on the raft, and it looks really good. It looks very, very good. So yeah, anyway, and sort of to close this off, ship that I would like added to the game. So oddly enough, the Atlas Geo and the Drake Golem, again, reminder, sign up for the Drake Golem giveaway. Again, so those two really filled a role that I didn't think needed to be filled. I am yet to get enough flight time on the Golem, but I experimented for a couple hours with the Atlas Geo, and besides the jetpack issues where you can't maneuver, it's an excellent platform. And the Golem, I really like what they did with the very bare bones mining ship design, where it's not as much about, like, it's literally it's the starter, it's your first mining ship. Like, yeah, you can't swap the laser, but you can use gadgets to change the properties of the rock. You still get 32 SCU of cargo like on the Prospector, so once you upgrade to the Prospector, it's not that big of a difference. You just get more options with the lasers and attachments. And I think on the golem you still can put. Let me double check because I actually haven't tried to do that. Let me look at golem. I think you can put modules on the Pitman mining laser. Okay, I think you can put modules on the. Okay, Star Citizen Tools won't tell me, but I think CIG said you can put modules on the golem, but that's not 100% confirmed. So very nice starter mining ship, no frills. It's very much looks like it's missing a bunch of plating in places, and I like that Drake kind of took their own design for the mining bag, where it's essentially a container, which I think is amazing. That it's, you know, not a tube, it's not a bag, it's a container, which I think is the superior shape for holding volumes of loose rock. So very much a niche that I didn't think needed filling, but I am very happy they're both here. But the ship that I am missing, that I would like to see, is a medium fuel refining and refueling ship. Now, what does that mean? Like, some of you who have been around for a long time are going to be like, isn't that the Vulcan? Well, oh yes, Drake, like the Drake design book is very set in stone, and I love it. Like, ever since the Corsair, they have been very set on a certain way of building Drake ships, and it's amazing. Like, if you go on any Drake ship, you can very much expect the same thing, which is what I would expect from the other manufacturers after all the reworks. But so the ship I would want, medium refueler. So why the Vulcan is not it? So the Vulcan is not a refinery ship. It doesn't refine fuel. It takes on fuel, it takes on spare parts and sort of repair materials and ammunition. Actually, yes, that's correct. If you flew a cutter, you have flown every Drake ship. That's, you know, that should actually be the cutter sales line. If you fly one of these, it's like you have flown every Drake ship in the universe. Yeah, that should be a cutter sales line. Yeah, so the Vulcan, it's a support ship. It has 2 drones or 4 drones that can rearm, refuel, and repair other ships in the vicinity. How is that going to work with the current iteration of repairing and repair beams? Nobody knows. What I am looking for is like a Starfarer Junior, where it can fly through a gas cloud, grab some fuel from, you know, some hydrogen fuel from there. Maybe it can't refine Quantanium, that's fine, but it can refine hydrogen fuel and it can take on Quantanium, and it has the refueling boom arm. How do I see this happening? So Argo would be my manufacturer of choice for this. I'm kind of thinking raft chassis with tanks in the back and the boom arm instead of the cargo area. Or I'm thinking a Constellation variant where the tanks would be in the cargo bay and the snub fighter would be replaced with the boom arm. Or even possibly a Cuddy variant with kind of the same principle, or a Retaliator refueler. Now with the Tally, it's a little bit more complicated, as is. Primarily because I guess, you know, you could only replace one of the modules and then you could like combine them, but like which module is the, you know, I think they could make it work where it's like, oh, you can like the front one is a tank and the rear one is like tank plus boom arm. So you could do like, oh, it's a, yeah, you have one tank or something and a boom arm, so you can like refuel your fighter escort and like increase their range. Or you can do like, oh, I'm gonna put the fuel tank in the front and that's gonna be like my spare fuel tank, so I increase my own range, and in the rear I'm gonna have cargo or dropship or torpedoes. So that could be very interesting combination, but I think the most likely is a bespoke ship. Even Crusader could probably do it, or Misk. Oh, that would actually be pretty fun. Putting the fuel harm in the front would be a crime against humanity. Or you could do like, I'm thinking like a hull B, where like instead of the cargo, well, but the hull B is always expanded. It's like the hull is always expanded. You could do a freelancer, like a freelancer max, but it's just like two huge tanks in the back. and the rear of it is just kind of like, oh, the cargo door opens and the boom arm comes out. That could be a pretty fun freelancer variant. The freelancer, the freelancer foo. No, that doesn't. The freelancer tank. Yeah, that would work. But yeah, that's the ship that I am missing, because like, for a lot of things, a Starfarer is and I would see this like 3 or 4 crew members, maybe 2 turrets, a PDC, so it's a little bit protected. But the thing with the Starfarer is that it's pretty clunky to bring out. Like, if you're like doing some stuff with fighters or whatever, like, you don't need that much fuel. Yeah, like even in Pyro, like you don't need to bring a whole Starfarer to like refuel someone who got stranded. You don't need a whole Starfarer. You need like a couple SCU of fuel max to like get someone off the ground into the nearest station. So that's kind of where I'm seeing this ship going. But anyway, that was all my ship related whinging and griping. So with that being said, I'm going to repeat some of the PSAs at the end of the show. Number 1, questions for the Q&A are open. Links are on Discord or on the Linktree, or also on YouTube. The screenshot contest, where you can win the Mustang Gamma with the Murray Cup paint and the Murray Cup equipment pack, so suit, helmet, rifle, is also still open until the end of the month, if I recall correctly. Just submit some screenshots that you think fit the theme, which is Need for Speed. Do with it what you like. I appreciate creativity and interesting ideas. And finally, if you would like a chance to win a Drake Golem, we have a giveaway going, sponsored by CAG, where you can win a Drake Golem, which I think is a very cool little mining ship. And yeah, other PSAs, the first episode of the organization interviews is coming out tomorrow evening, so stay put for that. It's a very cool episode, and I won't say more about it. I hope you guys like it, and I really enjoyed this. I'm going to keep making the show. But yeah, so that's coming out tomorrow. It's going to come out on YouTube, and it's going to come out as a podcast as well on Spotify and Apple Music as far as I can, as fast as I can make that happen, because publishing on Spotify and from Spotify to other platforms is kind of time consuming and difficult in a couple places. So as fast as I can make that happen, I will make it happen. And yeah, I will see if there will be a Comm Relay show next weekend or the weekend after that. I'm kind of enjoying the irregular schedule of it. I know it's not the best, but I like to have the show when I have something to talk about. And maybe the next show is going to be about the referral program with the rework. I have a video that I'm writing on it, but I'm kind of gathering some data from players, and I also know that there's a lot of feedback floating around for CAG, and I'm kind of waiting to see if they react to it, because I know there was a comment from Xylo, I think, where they say we're looking at the feedback and we're going to try and take it into account. So I'm kind of waiting to see if maybe they publish something about that in the coming week or two. So we will see. Anyway, with that being said, that will be all for today. All about ships we love, ships we hate, and ships we would like to change, and ships we would like to see. If you would like to join me as a guest on the Comm Relay, all you have to do is be on the Armory Discord at the time of the show in the waiting room. I will pull you in when I'm ready for you, and we will talk about the topic of the day for a couple minutes, and then I will let you go on with your day. The Comm Relay is published on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Pretty much right after I'm done here. But looking at the amount of DMs I'm getting right now, I think there is a problem that I'm going to have to be fixing instead. But yeah, anyway, that was all for today. Thank you all for joining me today. Baskeld, welcome, and I hope you come back for the next one. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Fly safe, and I will see you in the verse. Good night.